Breaking news today, actually. This is emanating from North Korea. I want to show you a clip of what some of the major media is talking about on this, and then I got some information that you're not going to get there on the other side. Here goes.
North Korea says that it plans to expel Travis King, the American soldier who fled into the country while visiting a checkpoint at the demilitarized zone back in July. Elizabeth Palmer is following this story from Tokyo. Liz, good morning to you. What are we hearing today?
North Korea announced through its own news agency just a short time ago that King will be expelled, but they haven't told us how or when. The 23-year-old, who's from Wisconsin, dashed across the border between North and South Korea while visiting the demilitarized zone last July. He'd actually gone to the DMZ on a bus tour after leaving the airport in Seoul, where he was supposed to be boarding a plane back to the U.S. to face probable disciplinary military action after he'd been arrested in South Korea.
You know, this is a really fascinating story, and as more and more information becomes available, it actually creates more and more questions as to why did this happen. But let me just give you a real quick background on what did happen that we know about so far. So back in July, Private King had been in trouble for a lot of things, and apparently had a scuffle with some South Korean police and served some time in a Korean jail, actually. And he had been let out and was going to be boarded on a plane to sent back to the United States for some disciplinary action. Most likely, he was just going to be separated from the service. It's not likely that he would have gone back to the U.S. and gone to jail or anything. And so the way it works in terms of how he was supposed to get back. So this is a part where the media hasn't really explained this, and it's a big puzzlement. But I used to be stationed in South Korea and actually have been to the DMZ and I have actually went on the actual tour to the DMZ that he went on. So I've been to the exact same spots here, and I can tell you how a lot of these work. So first of all, back to the airport. Now, the airport itself is a civilian airport, and the military has no jurisdiction within there. So what they did was the military police escorted Private King to the facility. They got him into their security, and then he was supposed to just on his own go and get to the plane and take the flight home. Now, nobody had any idea that he would do anything besides get on the plane because he had already served time in jail. He knew he was going back for almost certainly to be separated from the military. And so the expectation was he would get on the plane and carry those duties out. But unbeknownst to the military authorities there, Private King actually had a plan. He got this tour. He arranged to have this tour, so he knew the timing of everything. Once he got to the gate, he told the Korean authorities, "Oh goodness, I've lost my passport. I have to go back and get it." Well, he had already coordinated to get on this bus, so he knew exactly what time it was going to. So he left the airport. Now then, the military's not there because they don't know that he was planning this. He goes outside the airport, gets on the bus, and then goes on the 75-kilometer trip up to the DMZ. And then as part of the normal tour, what would happen, and you saw a bit of it in the video clip there, is there's a number of buildings, and they physically straddle the border. Half the building is in South Korea. The other half is in North Korea. If you go inside there, then there's some South Korean soldiers on this side of the building and North Korean soldiers on the other side of the building. And you get to go in and you can see all that. And they're staring each other down as part of the drama that goes on a daily basis. But at some point in this, all of a sudden, King just dashed across to the other side. And of course, the South Koreans can't go over there. And once he passes that mid zone, nobody can go on the other side to get him. And, you know, the North Koreans had no idea what was going on. So they just captured him and brought him into the rear. Now, as I said on several television networks at the time, the North Koreans would hold Private King as long as there was any value or use to them in it, because they don't want any extra, trouble. Anything that's not going to be of use to them, they're going to get rid of. So now I think the number was 70 days they had him, and whatever intel they thought they could get from him or whatever political use they could get out of him, they decided that there was no more of that. Behind the scenes, the U.S. was working with Sweden and with China. And apparently Sweden was doing the direct coordination because the U.S. has no diplomatic relations with North Korea. So Sweden was apparently doing the direct negotiations for us. And at this point, no one's announced, and none of the nations have announced what actually happened. The only thing that the U.S. government is saying is that we made no negotiations. We made no promises. There was no quid pro quo. We just got him released. And the means of it was that the Swedish official, went to Pyongyang, got the Private King, and then they went north into China. And from China, then they transited back to U.S. held territory, and supposed to be on Wednesday night Washington time at some point. He's going to be back in the United States in I believe he was going to a medical facility in San Antonio, Texas. There's a lot of military facilities down there where he'll be given a medical examination to make sure he's okay, because we have some history of Americans coming back from being detained in North Korea and being not taken care of well and being sick, as Mr. Wombeer happened, as tragically so he ended up dying after he came back. This seems to be different because Private King was not there very long, and so we expect that he's going to be okay. And the big question that remains to be seen, and a lot of people are looking through with bated breath, is why would Private King have bolted to the north when he was by all probability going to go back to the United States and be released from duty and be free after he had been separated from the military? It didn't appear that he was going to go back to serve more time. And certainly going to North Korea wouldn't be a rational idea that you're going to avoid jail in the U.S. by becoming a prisoner in North Korea. So, we don't know if Private King had some emotional problems that had caused him to act in an irrational behavior. But by all accounts, he was actually a really good kid. And if you see some of the photographs of him, I mean, he looks like a good kid. But apparently he had gotten into lots of discipline problems after he got to Korea. So I'm pretty sure that there's things behind the scenes that had been going on that led up to this that we don't know about. And man, I'm glad he's back in the U.S. and we all wish him well. But this is a story we're going to keep following. And when we find out some more information, we're going to give it to you on a future deep dive. See you on the next episode.